Welcome to the Future of Payroll and Workforce Management Insights by HR.com, your go-to resource for insights into payroll and workforce management. From navigating compliance and technology trends to exploring the latest in global payroll solutions, we're here to keep you ahead of the curve. Join us as we dive into the forces reshaping payroll and share practical strategies to optimize your workforce management. Let's get started. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Future of Payroll and Workforce Management and HR.com podcast. And we are podcasting from the floor of HR Technology Conference and Expo. Again, this year, very exciting stuff. And I'm at the Darwinbox booth with Ashok Patsamatla, who, how are you?
I'm good, Brent. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about some interesting stuff. We have the sort of the Museum of Technology Past here. We'll talk about that a little bit. But what I like to ask all of my guests at the outset of these episodes is, what gets you motivated every day in the world of work? How did you find yourself in this industry? What's your passion around it?
Well, I was before I got into tech and everything. I was actually a management consultant, right? And what I found when I was doing that is there's a lot of problems that organizations need to solve. One of the biggest one that I always encountered was this issue of having to retain employees, having to hire employees. It was a constant, headache for anybody in the business, right? And with when I looked at, hey, what's like the tech landscape out there for HR, and this was about like 10 years back, right? It was quite bleak, right?
Yeah.
But then this whole shift to cloud was happening around that time, and to me it felt like a great change, and I just wanted to be a part of that, and that's what got me into this.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Very nice. The cloud got a lot of people into SaaS for HCM specifically. Now, we have a little bit here with just sort of a cool little display that you guys have at your booth. There's a lot of really clever, novel stuff in all the booths, but this is one of the coolest ones, I'll be honest, what I've seen. And you just have folks can't really see because I'm in the way, but we have like an old phone. We have like a VHS cassette and all that stuff.
We have a Stegosaurus too as well.
A Stegosaurus too. Yeah. We've come a long way. And and I know people can't see, but there's stuff on every shelf, on the lowest shelf. Like, as you get lower on the shelves, you're closer to the modern day, and then the bottom shelf is empty. It's almost, we've gotten to this point, we have technology we can't even see anymore. I don't know if that was the intent there, but that's what I got. It is. Okay. All right. Well, you guys had an announcement yesterday. I mean, AI all the time, all day, 24/7. That's what we're hearing about in this space, but we've got to the point where we have super AI agents. Maybe you could tell us a little bit what that's all about.
Yeah, I think that's that's something we're quite excited about. So we just announced the launch of our AI Super Agent, the Darwinbox AI Super Agent. What it does is it unifies all the agentic experiences that that the Darwinbox HR platform has to offer, but it goes a bit beyond that, right? It also tries to unify all your workplace applications, right? So for example, I'm a 1,000-employee company. My employees typically use the HR system, but beyond that, they also interact with the CRM, like a HubSpot, right? They also interact with the project management software like Jira, right? And all of these, the sum of all of these put together actually defines the employee's experience when they're interacting with the organization's IT landscape, right? And what's possible now with the agentic AI technology is to be able to unify all of this into a common employee experience where employees can interact with multitude of systems from a single pane, right? And essentially the super agent is exactly that. It's a single pane through which employees get to interact with multiple systems, multiple agents at the same time in a very, very user-friendly manner.
That's very interesting. And I'm hearing employee experience, one of our favorite topics, right? And this is really interesting. I'm also hearing sort of a unified agentic AI experience, which is kind of interesting because that's a term that's been with us already, like a unified, application to application experience, like, that user experience that's unified, it's well integrated, all this kind of stuff. And we're already talking about, hey, how do we unify these AI agents so that the experience for the human is, is cohesive and consolidated and makes sense, right? Also, what you said, though, around the employee experience, we talk about it so much in the HR space. This is obviously HR Technology Conference, and so there's going to be, but the employee experience, it's everywhere the employee is over the course of their entire day. And how much of that time do they really spend interacting with HR specifically?
I mean, you got it. You got it right. Right. For example, the employee experience is not limited to the HCM system. Right.
Right.
It goes much beyond that. For example, on any given day, you're spending a lot of times on Teams. You're spending a lot of times on maybe Slack, and you're using a multitude of business-facing systems. And until you think about unifying this overall landscape, you're not really solving the full scope of what the employee experiences, right?
Yeah.
And the super agent essentially is that orchestrator, which smartly interacts with all of these systems, abstracts away all the UI complexity between all these systems. Ultimately, what it leads to is better adoption of your processes across the board, right? And not just limited to HR processes. Of course, because we are a HCM first system, we have definitely solved very, very deeply for the HR workflows. But it also, why we call it a super agent is because it extends beyond the HR as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. There's a sort of an assumption, or maybe not an assumption, but I think it's easy to just think about everything starting from the HR system, right? And an employee's day might not start with, probably doesn't start with HR. It starts from some other point. But there are typical sort of pathways or workflows, or that's not journeys that employees take over the course of their day, and it's good to be able to handle all of those. What are the benefits to an organization? We talked a little bit about this in the green room. We have a green room. We're not a late night talk show here at the podcast, but we do have a green room. One of these days I'll post the bloopers from them, but I'll let you know. But in any event, like what are the benefits to the organization? How do you measure the effectiveness of this?
Ultimately, I think it translates to a couple of things. The primary being, you make it easy for employees to interact with processes. You make it easy for them essentially, if they have to do less to be able to be more productive in their work, ultimately leads to happier employees. We believe the ultimate goal there is retaining all your employees, because if it's a great place to work, it's a smart place to work, people experience that difference, right?
Yeah.
The second, of course, is more on the productivity side. Of course, you have better retention, better productivity, happier employees, but also because agentic AI gives you those automation benefits of getting things done faster, your employees are more productive as well. But I think the main focus is on essentially improving your employees' experience, better CSATs from your employees, better NPS scores. All of that is a great outcome that we can expect.
All really good metrics, and they should all be measured. I am of the opinion that some of the positive outcomes from these sorts of improvements are not measurable, but they're self-evident. You'd be hard pressed to argue that you wouldn't want them, right? So take, for instance, hey, my company, hypothetical company, because I don't have a company, but hypothetical company, I'm employing people. They are in a better mood because it's just easier to work there. There are fewer headaches. We were talking about that old movie Office Space, the TPS reports. Hey, we don't have to do TPS reports anymore. This is great. I'm happy, and some of that might be expressed with your employees might actually be unproductive for a little while because they're enjoying just being there, and that might be in terms of a measurable thing, like on an accountant spreadsheet, in terms of measuring the impact of systems and these sorts of things. Conventionally, it might look like a loss, but because there's like increased camaraderie and happiness at work, that company is going to be more impactful with its TAM, its total addressable market, right?
Yeah. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and people say, right, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Mm,
So effectively, what you're saying is it leads to better culture. It leads to that what you mean by like people being in like a generally good mood, having good camaraderie around the
yeah,
office, uh, and ultimately that's the holy grail for any HR leader or any CEO that you want people to generally have fun where they are, and the results will follow. Because when you hire good people, you make sure you have an environment where they're thriving and they're happy. The results are bound to happen.
yeah, exactly. Because we're not measuring productivity linearly, as like a time thing, right? There's an assumption if there's this time savings that there will be, a certain percentage of that will be contributed to some more productive activity. What it is, we don't know, right? But it's also possible that employee, because their experience at work is this isn't even the right way to put it, but more tolerable, or the opposite, something else. It's embraceable, right? They might be way more productive in shorter bursts in providing value to the organization than they ever would be at sort of a baseline productivity, whatever that is, over a linear span of time.
No, I totally resonate with that because ultimately you need employees to step up when it matters the most, and you don't want people who are just spending their time 9 to 5 doing that and then getting
Yeah.
home. You want those short bursts of energy where it actually matters, and environments like this actually make that happen.
Yeah, yeah. Where, wh- what's your sort of, you looking into your crystal ball, Ashok? Like, what's happening next with agentic AI? Like, are we kind of in the sweet spot right now, or what else can happen for us to kind of build upon what we've been talking about?
I think we're barely scratching the surface this year because the technology itself is, I would say, barely a year old, right? And just because of the potential that we're seeing in that technology, a lot of build is happening on that. You have product teams across organizations trying to experiment, trying to build a lot of things for their customers. You have organizations trying to do a lot on their own, right? You have IT teams within organizations who are trying to build these POCs, just see what's possible with this technology because it's real, right? It's no more the AI of 10 years back where
Yeah.
it is quasi AI, quasi.
Machine learning.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not AI. That's machine learning, right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So what used to be machine learning used to pass off as AI, but now it's truly agentic AI truly can deliver results. But what is going to happen over the next couple of years is you see a lot of depth and rigor going into the technology. I think there's a lot of breadth at this point where you have people trying to build multiple use cases across the board, but they're not deep enough, right? What do I mean by that? You have to start thinking about things like permissions, governance, privacy, data security. All these things matter ultimately because if this technology has to scale. And I see that's a direction in which, for example, Darwinbox is investing a lot, right?
Yeah.
Where we're trying to go deeper into these agentic AI use cases, where we're solving them at the platform level with something called as our AI gateway, where anything that passes through the AI layer passes through a common set of controls that the organization can rely upon Darwinbox to apply, right?
Mm.
So we'll see a lot of the depth getting built out. You'll see a lot less hallucinations when these workflows run through agentic AI. You see a lot less uh, problems things like rate limits, etc., that you have to think about when you're deploying these use cases. We're quite excited about going deep because ultimately, if you have to solve problems, these are complex problems. These are not just like chat GPT kind of problems. You need to go deeper because it has to mesh well with the organization's workflow. And that's where I see a lot of work going over the next couple of years where we'll see this deep depth being built out in these use cases so that ultimately they become more prevalent in terms of adoption.
Uh, It's fascinating. It'll be very exciting to watch over the next few years. Absolutely. Ashok, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a very illuminating conversation.
Thanks a lot, Brent. Really enjoyed that this morning, and have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Future of Workforce Management and Payroll Insights by HR.com. We hope today's episode brought you valuable insights and fresh perspectives on the future of payroll and workforce management. Be sure to check out more episodes and explore resources at hr.com/podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep innovating and making a difference in the world of payroll and workforce management.